One of the most common questions I found online from young adults age 18 to 27 is, how do I boost my self-confidence? Now, in the grand scheme of things, when I think it comes to self-confidence, I don't think you can necessarily just boost your self-confidence. Like, I don't think it's so much of a trigger that you can just turn on and off to get confidence. I think, or at least what I think the better strategy is to sort of build up your confidence in general over time. And I say this as someone who used to be super introverted, super shy, super low confidence. And while I wouldn't say that I'm the most confident guy in the world now, I will say that my confidence, I would personally say, has increased tremendously since, I would say, over the past decade or so. It's much higher, to the point where in public settings, I don't particularly care about most things. And I'm not saying that in a bad way, like I'm just disrespectful or rude. I'm saying that I don't care about the opinions of people as much. I feel like in general, most things I try to put my mind to, most things I do, most things I attempt to do, I can get it done. So in the grand scheme of things, when it comes to confidence, I want to first kind of dispel this belief that confidence doesn't mean that you're going to just know how to do everything. Hopefully that makes sense. I feel like when people think about confidence, what comes to mind is they're going to walk into a room, everyone's going to be looking at them, they'll know how to do everything at every single time, and everyone will just gravitate towards them all the time. And I don't think that's what true confidence is. And the reason why I bring this up is because I feel like if you go into this with the wrong view of confidence, you're never going to truly get more confident. Like, if you believe that confidence is one thing, you'll always be pursuing it. But if you're pursuing the wrong thing, and you're pursuing something that does not truly exist, you'll never actually find it. Hopefully that's not too confusing, and hopefully that makes sense. So when it comes down to it, what would I say will help you build confidence? I personally believe, and this is what I did, I personally believe that confidence is you saying what you sort of staying true to your standards and doing the things that you say you're going to do. I would say that's the first place to begin when it comes to confidence. And that's more of just a general suggestion that most people should do. Now, what do I mean by that? I think a lot of people say things, and I think a lot of people want to do things, but I don't think a lot of people live up to the things they say or the things that they want to do. People don't live up to their standards. There are people who want to get in shape. They want to look a certain way. They see themselves in the mirror with a certain physique, but they don't actually go to the gym, or they don't lift hard enough, or they don't diet correctly, or they don't diet long enough, or they don't have a lifting program long enough. They're not consistent. Not living up to the standard or the view of yourself in your head will destroy your confidence. So that's one of the first things I understand. Confidence is sort of built by you consistently doing the things you say you're going to do. And I think there's a balance to it. Obviously, there's some things you're not going to be able to do. Like, you're not going to sit here today watching this video and say tomorrow I'm going to get in fantastic shape. You can progress to getting in great shape. You can try to go to the gym and maybe lift a little bit, but you're not in one day going to suddenly just get jacked if that's your goal, or get ripped if that's your goal. So it's not so much the outcome that you're striving for, it's just the actions that lead to a certain outcome that you're striving for. And I think this is where most people fail. Most people say they want to do things, but they don't actually do the things that they say, or at least that they believe they want to do. So that's the first thing. And that's sort of a mental framework to sort of understand. If you have a goal, pursue it. If you have a vision of yourself, pursue it. And by pursuing it, you have to actually keep yourself accountable. Now, from a more practical standpoint, I would say one of the best things that I would personally recommend, first and foremost, is set little tiny goals and do them consistently. Allow yourself to win on a micro level. Now, what I used to do back in the day, several years ago, what I would do is I would set an alarm for 5 a.m. and I would tell myself I must wake up at 5 a.m. And I'm not going to lie, it was pretty difficult. It's not easy to just get up and wake up at 5 a.m. And nowadays I would say to people, don't try to just do it cold. Like, work your way up to it. If you're the kind of person that wakes up at like 8 a.m., then set an alarm for 7:30. And once you consistently wake up at 7:30 for like a week or two or maybe a month, then set your alarm for 7 a.m. and then do that for another week or 2 weeks or a month. And then work your way up slowly over time to say 6 a.m. or 5 a.m., whatever your maximum goal is. That's my personal suggestion. I did it cold and kind of just did the hardcore jump from, I think I was waking up at like 9 or whatever time that school demanded I wake up. Some days it was 9, some days it was 8, some days I had late class, so it was like 11. It depended on the classes that I had that day. But I just made a major jump and went from whatever time I would usually wake up to 5, flat, every single day. Even if I had class at like 11 a.m., I'd wake up at 5 a.m. And I think it took me about a few months to really nail down a solid routine. And it will take time. But the entire time I was trying to get into that habit, the entire time I was trying to force myself to wake up early, whenever I actually did that thing, whenever I actually woke up on time, I felt myself feeling more confident in myself. And it's because I had that small win. I think once you start having those small wins, you start building up a certain bit of credibility with yourself. And I think that credibility is ultimately what builds your self-confidence. Now, in the grand scheme of things, that's just one way to build self-confidence. I think there's other ways, like for example, if you're in great shape, and I keep using fitness as the major example. It's just one example, but I think it's the easiest for people to achieve because it's 1000% in your control. By you just going to the gym consistently and getting in shape and having people compliment you and validate you, that will make you feel more confident. When people validate you, that's where confidence can come from. And it can't be a bullshit validation. It needs to be real validation. I say that because I know some people, and I'm not trying to offend anybody, but I find this to be very true with women. They get validated for things that they're not necessarily good at or for things they haven't necessarily earned. You do not want that. You want true validation from things that you've actually accomplished, or at the very least things you are actively trying to accomplish. So one of the best feelings, in my personal opinion, is when you kind of go to the gym for about 6 to 8 weeks. And just in case, as a side note, if you're not the kind of person that's going to the gym right now and you're curious about how long it'll take to see results, about 6 to 8 weeks. That's usually if you're being consistent and if you're actually putting in a good effort. Usually after about 6 to 8 weeks, you'll start seeing results. But tangent aside, you go to the gym for about 6 to 8 weeks and people start saying, "Oh, Leviticus, you look pretty good. Something about you, it's different. Oh, you look more thin. You looking big. Oh, your shoulders looking good." Once you start getting those compliments, that will boost your self-esteem. That will be the kind of validation that will help you build up your confidence. And then of course this translates into every other area as well. Or at least that same pattern translates in every single area as well. If you say, for example, have a nicer car, people compliment the car, and I know a car isn't really, it's not a direct achievement like building a certain physique is. Like, it's not really about you on a more physical level. But I think in the grand scheme of things, the car you drive, people will associate the car you drive with like status. It's like when you see a dude with a Lamborghini, you assume he's rich. He might not be. He might be borrowing it from his dad or his mom or a relative, whatever. But there's a certain assumption that he's rich, or at least high status to some degree. When people see you that way, and when people kind of treat you different, like better, because they see you with a certain car or something like that, that is another way to build confidence. Now, of course, you can't just go out and buy an expensive car. Maybe you do. Maybe you have the means, but most people probably don't have the means to go out and buy a fancy or expensive car. I would say if you don't have the means, still take care of the things in your life, like your car. That's my personal recommendation. Now, another quick way I would say you can kind of build some self-confidence, and this is not going to be long-lasting, but I think it'll help, is wear different clothing. I think some people I believe that the way you dress influences the way you think. And I think a part of that is because the way you dress influences how others perceive you. And I think their perception of you kind of subconsciously seeps into your mind and it makes you behave a certain way. So, for example, if you walk outside and you have stains on your shirt, you wear sweatpants all day, you look like a slob, people might not be mean to you, but they might not validate you, or they might not give you that much recognition. They might not really pay much attention to you. And I think because of that, internally it seeps into your head and you think to yourself, and this is not like an active thought, but this is you sort of get this mindset or this framework that you're not high quality. Again, this is not active. You're not actively thinking this to yourself. You might, but you're probably not. Subconsciously, you'll just behave in a lower quality way because no one's paying attention to you. No one's validating you. But imagine if you were to walk out, say 4 days a week with a very nice suit, your shirt fully pressed, no stains, no wrinkles, well-fitting suit pants, nothing baggy, nothing sagging, nothing that's like discolored or anything like that. You're wearing very nice suit pants that fit you perfectly, very nice suit jacket. I'm not saying wear a tie. I'm not saying be like overly formal. You can be if you want to, but I'm not saying you have to be. Imagine you walk outside wearing that. Now picture the look on people's faces. Do you think they'll treat you with more respect or less respect? Chances are they're going to treat you with more respect. And because they treat you with more respect, because they give you more attention, they might even ask you questions like, hey man, what do you do? Oh, that's cool. They're going to invest themselves into you and your life. Because they do that, you'll see yourself as higher value, which will ultimately raise your self-esteem. It'll raise your confidence. It'll be the boost of confidence that you want. And then, of course, there's that third area. I always think of things in terms of pillars, like health pillar, wealth pillar, and relationship pillar. And for the record, if you check out my other videos, I talk about this more frequently, but it's this concept called eudaimonia. It's called the good life, the flourishing life, the fulfilled life. There are 3 pillars I think people need to check off. That third pillar as well, relationship pillar. If you're wearing a suit, do you think you'll get more attention or less attention than a guy who's wearing like sweatpants with pizza stains on his shirt and maybe just like a dirty baseball cap like the one I'm wearing now, but I'm inside my house, so that's my excuse. Do you think you'll get more attention or less attention? I mean, you could get more attention, but it's probably going to be negative attention. I can almost bet you that you'll get more positive attention if you are wearing a nice suit. And if you get more attention from the opposite sex and they want to be around you more, they want to talk to you more, don't you think that'll kind of establish certain beliefs in your mind, which will ultimately boost your confidence? You'll start to see yourself, again, higher value, as the kind of person that attracts women into his life. And because you're that kind of person that attracts women into his life, when other men do not attract women into their lives, you're going to feel better about yourself. And again, that will raise your confidence. And then there's sort of this other category that I would say where you'll just have more self-confidence by just doing more things consistently. I know I mentioned earlier, have small wins like waking up early, but there's also sort of a confidence boost by simply having a bunch of skills. And I'm not saying you have to be the best at these skills, but I am saying that you have to have enough skills where people validate you on those skills. And they have to be skills that not everyone has. So for example, if you're a fantastic runner, if you're a great sprinter, and someone says to you, bro, you're so fast. Like, how are you so fast? I cannot beat this guy in a race. I guarantee you'll get validated and you'll have a lot of confidence. Now imagine if you keep stacking skills like that. Say you can run fast. Say you can lift more than most people. Not everyone, but most people. And by the way, as a quick hack, most people don't go to the gym. So kind of going back to my earlier point, if you just go to the gym and get in better shape and build up a decent physique, you're already going to feel confident because you're going to look better than most people physically, but you're also going to get validated by tons of people more frequently. And you'll know objectively that you're stronger than most people because, like I said, most people don't even lift. So that's sort of a little hack, we'll call it. But as you keep building skills, your sense of self-worth, and it needs to be objective. It can't be subjective things. And when I say objective, in case you're not familiar with what that word means, objective means that you can measure it. It means that it's concrete, it's definable. For example, let's say height, and I'm not, obviously you can't get taller, but let's say you're 6'5". Objectively, you're taller than the guy that's 6 feet tall. It's objective. It can be measured. It can be spotted. It can be seen. Subjective is if you feel, say you're 5'8", but you feel tall, and some guy walks in the room and he's 6 feet tall, and he says, yeah, but you're not as tall as me, and you go, but I feel like I'm taller than you. That could very well be true. You might feel taller than the guy that's 6 feet tall, but if you're 5'8", you're objectively shorter than him, which is totally fine. That's nothing wrong with that. But the point I'm making is that you need to build skills that are objective, not subjective. Just because you feel it, just because you believe in it, doesn't mean anything. Other people need to validate it, and that's the key thing. Other people validating you is what ultimately builds your confidence. And building skills is one of those ways where you can kind of have ingrained, concrete confidence. I'll tell you a quick story. When I was in college, I started trying to do like a bunch of different hobbies, and it was funny how like a lot of people would say, You're just good at a bunch of random different things. Like I try to do guitar, and in like a month or two, I'm playing like chords, playing full songs, and people are like, "Oh, you're so good at guitar." I wasn't that good. I don't consider myself good, but people said I was good. And it's a skill that I know most people don't have. Most people aren't musically inclined. Most people cannot play guitar. Most people can't play anything. So even though I'm not great, it's still better than average. It's still better than most people. So it's a skill that's objective that I've stacked. Working out. I work out all the time. Back in college, I worked out like 6 days a week. And currently I'm doing a bulk. So I got a little bit more, I'm a little bit fluffy, we'll call it. But back in the day, I was a lot thinner. I wasn't as muscular back then, but I was also more lean back then. But regardless, and this is still true to this day, I still do, I lift more than most people do. So it's an objective skill that I have over most people. Height is one thing. I'm not super tall, but I'm also not super short. So objectively, I'm taller than many people. What else? Fashion was a big thing. I've been complimented on just my clothing, which is very basic, by the way. I don't wear that many crazy things. Like I have a few suits that I wear sometimes, which I recommend getting. My main outfit is a white t-shirt, jeans, and Chelsea boots. And when it's a little bit cold during the fall, I'll wear a leather jacket or a jean jacket or like a, I forget what they're called, like a bomber. I'll wear that. That's the extent of my wardrobe. And like I have, like, I'm not wearing it now, but like a necklace and bracelets. That's the extent of my fashion. Like that's pretty much what I wear. But in comparison to most men who just wear like dirty t-shirts, whatever they can find, the colors don't match, the patterns don't match, there's no accessories, the clothing doesn't fit them well because they don't work out, they're either too skinny or they're overweight. Compared to them, objectively, my fashion's better. And that's not me bragging, this is what people have said to me. So if you want to build self-confidence, my recommendation is create little wins. I'm just doing a recap. Create little wins, build up each of your pillars, make more money, of course, so you can attract more people. And I know people say don't like be materialistic, but I do think that there's a certain, being materialistic to a degree does benefit you. I'm not saying go all out. I'm not saying be like reckless. I'm not saying blow your money, but to a degree, having nice things gets you more attention, and more attention, more positive attention, is validation, which helps you stay, let you do more things in life. It grants you more access to do more things in life. So materialism in itself is not a bad thing. Like I said, if someone pulls up and say like a basic Honda Civic that's not like, you know, some people mod out their Hondas, cool, but say it's not a modded like Honda Civic, it's just like a basic Honda versus a Lamborghini, who do you think is going to get more attention, the Honda or the Lamborghini? Obviously the Lamborghini is going to get a lot more attention. So in that sense, it does pay to pay for nicer things. Yeah, get in shape, create small wins, be slightly materialistic, it's not bad, and stack skills. You do those things, you're gonna get more confident. Hope this helps. And by the way, I have more answers to questions like this. I'm making a full playlist with a bunch of answers like this. Be sure to check out the playlist. I'll have it linked at the end of this video, so that way you can just kind of click to the next one. But otherwise, hope to see you in the next video. Keep killing it. Peace out.